Okay. You'll see here, I'm here with colleagues from the SIG committee. So I have Stella, Faith, Christina, Lindsay, me, and Angeliki. And we're delighted to have persuaded politely Angeliki to do her talk. We saw her do this talk on coaching conversations at the Bali conference, and we know not everyone can get to conferences, and we thought it'd be a great topic for the SIG, partly because she's used it with students, so it's a way for your own professional development and skills development, but also as potential for if you're working with teachers for observations. So really, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Angeliki.
Good morning, and thanks for attending my session. Let me just share my screen. Give me a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Carol?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Angeliki Apostolidou. You may know me from the TED in EAP SIG. And this talk is, as Carol said, was presented at the BILAB conference in Plymouth. It's basically about my experience of using coaching conversations in an attempt to transform one-to-one student tutorials, feedback tutorials, into more of a dialogue with students, aiming to engage them more and try to empower them. So the idea of experimenting with this approach came to me while I was doing a module for my master's on professional education practice last summer. And I was reading interesting theories, practical strategies, and I wanted to try and see whether incorporating coaching approaches and principles could make my feedback tutorials at the pre-sessional program I was teaching more impactful for students. Okay, so let's start by imagining feedback as a notion, ever-present, expansive, powerful, but also intimidating. Intimidating both for students and for us teachers, but especially for students in EAP, they constantly need to navigate this ocean. Our role is to help them try to swim in it. However, according to Stone, effective feedback is a skill, and I have found that coaching practices can cultivate this skill, the skill of receiving feedback, because that's the hardest thing, to get students to receive it, to be empowered in order to become more active listeners. So here's an overview of my talk. First, we'll consider why we might go beyond feedback and examine the limitations of traditional feedback. And then I'll introduce some key coaching fundamentals, like Jenny Rogers' 6 coaching principles, a key coaching framework, and then 2 relevant theories you may be familiar with, Seligman's positive psychology and Dweck's growth mindset. I will then discuss how to clarify actions and support student-driven goal setting. I will present an actual case study from a real EAP tutorial experience to show how these ideas were practiced, to show them in action. And I will conclude with some practical strategies that you can implement in your practice if you're interested in using coaching conversations in your feedback tutorials. So let's imagine an EAP feedback tutorial as a journey toward academic success. Traditional feedback tutorials operate like a GPS navigation system, It's like an analogy I've come to think of. So in traditional feedback tutorials, the instructor enters the destination, the specific learning outcomes, decides on the fastest or best route, that is the areas that need improvement, and the students simply follow along. They turn right or left as instructed. They simply follow instructions. Mistakes or deviations are immediately met with correct rerouting, recalculating, and the students progress needs to get back on the predetermined work. So the students' role using traditional feedback tutorials remains basically essentially passive. And for example, we've all seen students nodding as if they follow, as if they understand our comments and our feedback in a session, but they keep making the same mistakes later on. So that's a sign that this feedback as telling does not truly connect with them. On the other hand, feedback tutorials using coaching conversations, I've imagined them more as inviting students to read a map. So students and instructors together identify the goals, the challenges, and strategies. They actively interpret their academic terrain, they reflect, and they think critically. So this approach transforms this scenario into one of co-piloting. Here, the student and the instructor sit side by side as if they're exploring a map, and at the same time exploring their goals and their strategies and how to implement and reach these goals, fulfill these goals. They don't follow directions as in traditional feedback tutorials. They try to select the best way to do it. So feedback tutorials change from a hierarchical relationship where the student's role is passive towards a collaboration, a problem-solving meeting where the student is not just receiving feedback, but it's actually making sense of it and deciding how to act on it. Okay, so here's a definition of coaching. I'll give you 1 minute to have a look at it. It illustrates its role in educational context. And the question is, where can you apply it? Well, Les Duggan answers basically anywhere that a conversation would take place. Or as he writes, in any situation that requires dialogue, the ability to elicit information, improve understanding, solve problems, achieve something. So this suggests that once we understand more, once I've come to understand more about the principles of coaching and use them, I realized that there are so many parallels with the broader aims of quality education. The focus is on learner-centered pedagogy, seeing students as partners, and collaborative learning that's rooted in respect. So I would like now to present some of the principles of a coaching conversation. So Jenny Rogers, who is a leading writer in the coaching world, set out 6 principles or cornerstones. So these principles basically set the tone for a coaching approach. So the aim of a coaching conversation is not to fix the student, the coachee. The coachee could be a teacher instead of a student. If you are doing a post-observation, let's say feedback tutorial, feedback meeting, So the coachee is resourceful. A coaching conversation is not aiming to fix the coachee. It's not therapy or counseling or advice or guidance. It's about trusting that the coachee is creative, resourceful, and whole, and able to come up with their own solution if they're given the time and the space. The role of the coach is to challenge and develop this resourcefulness through questioning, challenging, and supporting. The third rule, the third cornerstone is that coaching addresses the whole person, that is the past, present, and future. A tutorial should not just be about that one assignment or that one presentation. We might acknowledge the student's past challenges or strengths, discuss the current task, and then connect the goals to future academic work or achievements that they are aiming at. So this holistic focus recognizes that emotions, mindset, and experiences all impact learning. The fourth cornerstone, the fourth principle is that the coachee sets the agenda. So this is an interesting one because only the student knows exactly what their weaknesses are and what they need to improve. It's necessary to explore the areas that are presented by the student, so that the student feels that they are given the power. This does not mean, of course, that we ignore issues that we see, but it means that we prioritize the student's perspective. The coach and coachee are equals. This is about the tone and relationship. So we engage in a dialogue as partners, and we don't try to dominate, or we avoid a top-down teacher as expert stance, and we avoid being judgmental. Coaching is about change and action. So a tutorial is not just a chat or a conversation. It's friendly, but it aims for change, and it needs to decide on action taken in order to bring about the change. So in an EAP context, this means that a tutorial should conclude with clear next steps that the students are committed to take.